Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. Remember to check Nashville.score.org. We're still with Stephanie Huffman. So, Stephanie, we're talking today about about helping somebody write a book. So, I imagine there are certain universal phases to the process that each author must be prepared for. Can you touch on those?
Yes, it's something that most authors don't anticipate. They think, I'm going to write my book, and then it magically goes into a box and it comes out the gumball machine as a book.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. If you do it right, these are the phases you will walk through. You'll start with the writing phase.
Okay.
You'll go into the editorial phase where someone tells you your baby is ugly.
Right.
If it's a professional, because they know the formula.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss out on that. So
Right.
you want that phase. Then once that happens, it goes to a proofreader to make sure that people who now have their eyes crossed didn't miss something. Then you look at the cover art, because the cover art is so critical. And you start deciding the cover has to speak to the exact kind of audience you're going after. And that's a formula and a process. And people don't understand that. They really think sometimes, well, I'll just put myself on the cover. Well, if you're a well-known celebrity or international leader, that's a good choice. But the cover has to appeal to the end reader.
You know, I have my business experience is that folks just don't know how very true that is.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And then you go into the interior design. People forget that there are so many options for interior design, and so you're making those decisions.
Right.
And then you're making decisions to go and make the edits on the cover and the interior. And then you go into how you're going to publish. Are you going to be under someone else's logo, or are you going to create your own? And then you go into the final proofreading where the book comes together design-wise. The cover is wrapped over that book, as we used to say. And then you prepare for the printing process. It goes into the printing process. You have the sign-off of the proof. It goes back with any corrections or edits. It gets printed, then it comes out the door to you. So those are the phases you're going to go through. And they take a little longer than you'd expect.
So one thing I definitely want to make sure to ask, with the folks that you have worked with, are they wanting to sell a lot of books usually?
Yes, and I think, and this might sound harsh, but most people think if I'm an author and print a book, I'm going to make money. Yeah. And that's just not the case.
Yeah, what does it take to sell a book? So you're a person.
A following.
And how do you, okay.
So when people come to us, we have a formula we put them through that will at least help them begin to make some sales. And we also work with people who are in the speaking circuit or want to be in the speaking circuit and literally are qualified for that. Some people just want to speak, and that's okay. But to get into that full speaking arena, there's a formula there too.
Right.
And if you don't know those formulas, that's not going to happen. But the point is, if you have a book, think of it this way, Pete. 3,000 books on average are released daily.
Yeah.
Daily. 3,000 a day. The competition is insane. All of those books can't fit on your bookstore shelf. And if your books do sit on a bookstore shelf, it feels really good. But who can find you?
Yeah.
So if you aren't blogging with a following, if you don't have a podcast or a radio show or a TV show or some type of presence where people know you and it becomes your buying base. If you've got 100 people who follow your blog, you at least know you potentially have, out of those 100, some buyers. If you're a news anchor or a show host, you know that your watchers, your viewers, I should say, you have a potential ability to sell to them. More so than I would if they don't know who I am.
So I'm guessing that when somebody comes to you wanting to write a book, one of the early conversations is this.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
it's painful.
Yeah. Are they wanting, how much are they wanting to sell?
Right.
And what are they, you know, are they willing to do what it takes to build a following?
There are people who are authors because they want to be, and there are people who are authors who just have to.
Yeah.
There's a difference. It's like if you have a passion and you can't stop talking about that passion, and you can't not talk about that passion, and it becomes your book. Or you're an expert in your field and there are things you want people to know and you really, really want them to know, and you just have to do it. And when you do it that way, it is more organic. There are, however, people who come to us that are speakers and they say, I have to have a book, because when you speak, you sell. It's just like the modern day world of musicians. When they sell is when they're out performing. The performances drive the sales. The same thing. If you're a show host or if you're speaking, it drives the sales because people want to take you home with them, or they want that experience.
Yeah, they get to know you.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. So going back into a couple of the more details, people talk about hybrid publishers. So when you pay them to publish your book, select a package and their logo's placed on your book, you're placed in their catalog, talk about that.
You Google them, you pull up all these packages, and you can have this, 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 and this. You don't even know what this, and this means. You're supposed to select one. You'll be assigned to a team that really never meets you and just does their formula. You really don't have as much input as you would like. It's very sterile, but what you're getting is a publisher's logo on your book that makes it look like you're probably bigger than you are. And they lure people in by saying, well, we're going to put you in our catalog. Well, think of it this way. The catalog changes every sales cycle. There are 3 to 4 sales cycles a year. Every single publisher out there is going to the same places trying to sell with their catalogs. Think of the competition there alone. They will never get to your book, especially if they have a James Patterson in that cycle that they're selling, or an Emerald Lagasse. The people who have the greatest pull are going to get the attention when that sales rep goes in to sell to Borders or Barnes & Noble. But if your book's on page 92, they're not going to talk about your book.
Really, what people need to know is you're going to have to build a following if you want the book to sell.
You have to have a tribe, like Seth Godin says.
And is that something you're willing to put the time and effort into?
And that's usually where the rubber meets the road. When they come to us, we have the whole formula laid out. We tell them this is how it works. We also have a formula of how to make your book look like it came out of a New York house. The people that we work with in our team, they've done it. And they know that formula. An average person going to something like Amazon on their own, they have no concept of the formula. And so the formula is what takes you through. And if you're willing to follow the promotional formula and the audience building or platform building formula, you're going to have a much better journey.
So we need to take a break.
Sounds good.
And we'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you shortly.